Hey there everybody, Mazrock here, and today we've got quite a bit to talk about. We're going to start with the Vengeance Demon Hunter buffs in particular. Then we're going to talk about some embellishment changes, some secondary stat changes coming to some of the raid items. This is a weird set of tuning that I actually wasn't anticipating, and I did pretty much say that there was going to be some tuning in week 1, so I'm not too worried about that, but there is some changes, especially to BIS list, best in slot list. So we're going to do the Vengeance Demon Hunter buffs first, and then we're going to talk about the other stuff secondary. Before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It goes such a long way towards helping out the channel. Patreon link down below. I am right in the middle of writing all of my 10.1 guides and all of that fun stuff there, and that is all posted on Patreon first. There's also early access videos on Patreon. For example, I had a video planned for today, which has been out on Patreon yesterday, but it got pushed. It's getting pushed back due to this video in particular. So lots of early access stuff there. There's merch for sale. I'm on the other side of the screen today. Check it out at the merch link down below. And of course, Discord, come join a wonderful community full of great people. And Twitch, come on by and watch me stream. I am on full DGen stream mode. So let's get into the Vengeance Demon Hunter buffs in particular. So shear and fracture damage were both increased by 10%. If you don't know what that is, basically shear is completely ignored on the talent tree and you always take fracture. It's a talent choice node, and we just basically always take fracture. Now the tier set does revolve around fracture. It's going to make it deal fire damage, and with the fiery brand build becoming the dominant meta pick for Vengeance, this is going to increase your fracture damage, your fire damage, which is also going to get boosted by fiery brand. So pretty good there. Soul cover damage is increased by 20%. This is not a small amount, which is actually really good because this is also fire damage. So when you hit soul cover on an enemy that has an active fiery brand, your soul cover damage is also going to be increased by an extra 40% with the fiery brand build. So this is really, really strong. Focus Cleave now soul cleaves damage to your primary target by 40%, was 30. This is going to be really, really good for single target and an all-around good buff. I'll take it. Soul Crush now applies frailty to your primary target for 8 seconds, was 5. Yes, I love this. Let's go. Just being able to stack your frailty that much more onto your primary target is going to be really, really good. It's going to be a damage increase, a healing increase, and all of that fun stuff. Now, does this fix the demon spikes issues that we've been having with the talent tree? No, and I do hope that Vengeance does get some sort of rework down the way, but these are all going to be really, really good abilities, especially now because Focus Cleave is basically the default pick with the Fiery Brand build due to pathing. Soul Carver now being a very good button. It was already kind of like a default pick that you could opt out of, like if you really wanted to, but with the Fiery Brand build being dominant, all around solid, and the Soul Crush, this is big. This is all really, really nice, and I love seeing a little bit of love to Vengeance. Now, we do have some secondary stat one-handed weapon changes. So these are weapons from the raid. So if you made your best in slot list already, you looked at everything, and you said, this is the gear that I want, come take a look. I will post these in the description box down below. Come see the changes. You'll also be able to see these in the adventure guide as well, because for example, the Hellsteel Mutilator dagger, which we don't use daggers anyway, so that was a bad pick, but this axe here, right, this agility axe, which was crit verse, is now going to be haste verse. Is that going to change whether you want it or not? This is something that you're obviously going to have to look for your spec and class and see what you want. For example, crit verse, this would have been a really, really good weapon for Brewmasters, but now it's haste verse, so it's going to lose some value there. So these are things that you are going to have to pay attention to. Offhand and shields also were not completely immune to this. The Kite Wing stays the same, but the other ones were changed. For example, the Calamity's Herald here used to be Haste Mastery, which would have been really, really good for Paladin, is now Crit Haste. Mastery Haste is now Crit Haste, which is still very good for Paladin, mind you, but Paladins love Mastery, so whether this is something you're still going to want is going to be up to you. We also do have some secondary tier set stat changes for Death Knight, Paladin, and Warrior. So, for example, our tier sets give you Static stats, they were always the same. For example, for Paladin, it was always Haste Mastery. Now it's Verse Haste. So these are going to change your stat values around considerably, and you're going to want to be checking your best in slot list, making sure that, you know, if, let's say before you wanted to avoid, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something out there. This is probably going to be wrong. Death Knight. Let's say you wanted to avoid legs because it was heavy mastered crit. We like mastering crit, which is fine. It's now crit haste. Is that still going to be what you want? And having to look that around and kind of what secondary stats are you going to be stacking? What are you lacking? And things like that. Because before you could always opt into a piece of crafted gear for these if you wanted to, as long as you kept your 4-piece. This might change what that crafted gear is and things around. So these changes are insignificant if you're not min-maxing and you're just playing the game, having fun and getting what you can and doing what you can. But if you are trying to min-max your gear, these are actually really, really big changes to your secondaries. It's just at what level do you play the game and how well you like to min-max your character's secondary stats. And lastly, we are going to cover this. Classes. Developer's note. Earlier this week, we changed embellishments so that they did not scale with class talents, abilities, and set bonuses. We've decided to revert that change, and we're now making updates to class abilities that unintentionally boost the damage of non-class effects, such as embellishment and trinkets. The big one here is Vengeance. Fiery Demise now only affects Demon Hunter class damage and does not affect trinket or item damage or fire damage dealt by other casters. Now, this should have always been the case for fire damage for other casters. Now, what Fiery Demise does is increases your fire damage for 2 points by 40%. And you would be able to, you know, Grief Torch that fire damage increase. And you see what I'm saying here? So they made it so it literally only affects the Vengeance Demon Hunter toolkit and not trinkets and stuff like that. So these are things that you're going to have to look out for. We have some new embellishments. I will be talking about embellishments in a little bit further in a little bit more time when we can test what they do live. Really, because we always know you can test them on PTR all you want, but they've already made considerable changes to a lot of things, how they're affected and those such things. But these are the things that I want to put out there. You need to be aware of this before you start raiding in Mythic Plus and trying to opt for your, you know, all of your gear that you might or might not need in the places that you do need them. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Have yourselves a good one. Thank you again to my patrons for making videos like this happen. Happy tanking, everyone. Bye.